All righty, welcome back. Time to talk a little football with my man Marc Lillibridge, who played in this league, scouted, coach, agent, contract negotiator. He's done it all, baby. He's like savoir-faire. He's everywhere. That's what it's all about. And I'm old, and I just dated myself with that cartoon reference. Anyway, Bridge, how you doing, my man? Afternoon, sir.
Big O, you got yourself some football season going on. East-West game, Senior Bowl, and then you got now a Super Bowl in your hometown.
I know.
Holy Lord, bro! I don't know how you're doing it, man. It's like that. I'm a football guy, true and true. That could be the closest to football overload you could ever get.
Well, there's no such thing as football overload in my life, my man.
There's not. You're right, brother. I agree. I'm saying close.
I cannot get enough football. I mean, people think I'm crazy because I go to all these all-star games and. You know, and let me tell you, years ago, Bridge, we were going to the Las Vegas Football Classic and the Gridiron Classic, and we used to have more bowl games actually back in the day to travel to in the off seasons.
I was talking to some young kids the other day about that. There used to be a blue-gray game.
Yep.
They're like, "What are you talking about?" I said, "At one point, that was the game. I mean, that was one of the top all-star games you want to go to." They're like, "No, that doesn't even sound right." I'm like,
the Kelly Tires.
Yep.
Blue-gray game, baby. How about that?
That's right, exactly right. Well, it's football season still, and even no matter what, even with the Super Bowl coming up, then as soon as you roll out of Super Bowl, we'll roll into XFL. But we still got the off season, which now I think the off season. I put this tweet out there the other day, for guys on our NFL Brawl network that I do our podcast, and I was like, nowadays, if your team's not in it, right? If you're not a Chiefs fan, if you're not a 49er fan, you're really looking forward to the Senior Bowl, but you're looking forward to the NFL draft and free agency. And so I said, hey, what are you looking forward to more now as a true diehard football fan? You looking forward to the Super Bowl, or do you look forward to the NFL draft?
Well, dude,
and it was it was crazy how many responses we got back.
Oh yeah, no, definitely, dude. And listen, think about us. We're here in Miami. It's the draft because it's 14 picks, dude. 14 picks. That's so. We feel like it's going to be Christmas it's like you're stuck in a Willy Wonka, chocolate factory, and it's you're just going to have all kinds of prizes and presents there on draft day.
You guys got to be hyped up for free agency too, right? I mean, you got to think Greer's going to be a little bit excited about some moves that they can make free agency wise.
Well, I'm trying to temper people because at least this is what I think is going to happen, Bridge. I don't think they're going to be heavy in free agency. They'll get guys, but they'll get guys on 1 or 2 year deals. You're not going to get the real quality free agents for that. Now, if a 25, 26, 27-year-old young free agent becomes available, that's the guy that you're going to see Miami go after and be aggressive. And because of all that cap space, you as a contract negotiator, you also know this, they're probably going to do something really creative where if they do sign a guy in free agency, they can actually give the signing bonus right up front, and they don't have to break it down through the lifetime of the contract or anything. They can count it against the cap in this coming year and move on and not have to worry about it.
Okay, but this is where I say that I agree with you 100% on, but I also think that gives Miami, number one, a destination, right? Yes. You've got a coach that I think a lot of people, especially at the end of the year, are excited about. He's got buzz from other players, guys on that team that are hyping up what he did for that team. From where they started at the end or the beginning of 2019 was quote unquote. I know you don't like to do it. You say reset, but for a lot of people in the national media were saying the Dolphins were tanking for Tua. You now have a team that was really rising and playing very hard for a good coach and buying into his system. I think that becomes a destination, right? Especially for me, if I'm an agent or if I'm a player, and I'm sitting there saying, okay, I'm 25, 26. I can get all this money up front. I can go to Miami. I can go to a tax-free state. Of course I want to go there. I really do. I think it becomes a destination spot for a lot of free agents. And it won't surprise me if there's some guys that are calling their agent saying, hey, put a feeler out to Miami and see where they're at.
I'm glad you're saying this because you're objective. And I'm as objective, I think, as it gets. But because I'm here in Miami, they might think I'm a little bit of a homer. But that's exactly what I said. That, hey, Dolphins, after week 2 of the regular season and where you're at now, you feel completely different. And I said the same thing you said.
Yep.
Agents and players are now going to look at Miami and say, those guys got it going on. They understand what it's all about. Agents know this business, and they see what they did with the cap and all the picks. They understand what they're doing. Miami, really, I got to tell you, I got to give Greer a lot of credit because it took a lot of balls to rebuild the team through youth and not use veterans. Because as you know, Bridge, they always use a mix of veterans and young guys to kind of rebuild. These guys went all young and then sifted out as many practice squad guys as they can around the league to try to find diamonds in the rough. I thought it was a really creative way of starting your foundation.
Right, and then once you actually then too, the one thing that the Dolphins have not done, where I think we'll see that piece this year, is get that quarterback situation done, right? I mean, it's a quarterback-heavy league, it's a quarterback-driven league. And so I think they've been able to do a nice job with the cap and with the players they have a good nucleus at other positions. They got guys with like the Albert Wilsons and Xavier Howards that want to be there, that they were able to pay, give them a little extension, and be able to say, hey, we're going to make you guys the core. We're not going overboard, but we're going to lock you in. And then now they can take that money and go find, maybe it is that big money quarterback, or maybe it is a quarterback through the draft. And I think build a team around that. So you're right. I love what they're doing in Miami. I think you've seen that the 49ers did that, right? I mean, the 49ers had, for a long time, they had all those high draft picks, and they were using them on defensive linemen. And now you see them, of course, in the Super Bowl. I think the Dolphins can kind of follow, I'm not going to say that same recipe, but kind of that same game plan and that same blueprint, and say, okay, we have these core pieces we're looking for, and now we can fill in around them. And that's going to start, I think, this offseason with a quarterback.
All right, Bridge. We're talking with Marc Lillibridge, of course, former NFL player and scout and agent and coach and contract negotiator. He's done it all. Bridge, what'd you think of what you saw in the East-West in the Senior Bowl? We need a quarterback down here, so let's just start with that position. What'd you see over the last 2 weeks that caught your eye, if you were able to watch any of it?
Yeah, of course, Joe Burrow is the unquestioned guy, right? And I love him because I've known him since he was a little kid. His father was actually my defensive coordinator in college. And so I've seen this kid mature and go from, being a backup at Ohio State to then, actually, I kind of was part of the group with his father, helping him try to find a college. Did I ever think he would end up being what he became at LSU? Not even close. The kid has lived up to and built on more hype than I've ever seen anybody do it. Maybe the most magical college season that we've ever seen, maybe south of Cam Newton, but even I think probably better than that. But I think it's so he's unquestioned, right? And I think then the next level is, I thought Justin Aver from Oregon, the quarterback from Oregon, I thought he was magnificent at the Senior Bowl. I think he answered the questions that people had for him, and that was a lot of his leadership skills, right? Yeah. Rah. You don't see him doing the Joe Burrows. You see him on videos on Instagram or whatever else, doing the gat dance and slapping his teammates and doing all this other stuff. You don't see that. Justin's a 4.0 college student, and he's the guy the quiet leader. Maybe kind of coming off the same. I guess Marcus Mariota, if that's fair to say, kind of comes from that same ilk, and yet he went to the Senior Bowl. He was a leader. He got his teammates hype. He answered all the questions that the coaches had for him, and he was terrific on the field. I thought he did phenomenal. I thought he really helped his stock, and I think he becomes unquestionably right now the number 2 guy until we find out what happens with Tua's injuries. And I just don't know. I think that leaves a major question mark at the quarterback situation for Tua, where I think coming into this season, a lot of people said, he was the unquestioned one. It won't surprise me if he's not a first rounder. And again, a lot of that comes down to medical, and I'm going to go that leadership-wise and his talent-wise is there. But it's hard to risk that on a guy that's coming off a major, hip injury, and even if Dr. Andrews signs off on him, there's still a lot of teams that are going to question that. So I think that you look at a guy like that, and I think Jordan Love from Utah, I thought was very, very helped himself. I thought going into this week of the Senior Bowl, I thought he was one of those guys that was probably a top of the second-round guy. I think he now vaulted himself into the bottom of the first, and maybe even into the mid-teens conversation. And you know how this draft works. I mean, we're sitting at one point, 2 years ago, talking about Baker Mayfield maybe is a high second rounder, and then all of a sudden, as it rambles up 2 weeks, 3 weeks, he's number 1 overall. So I think we're going to see a lot of quarterback movement still. And again, I think Tua is the is the missing card there, because I think his medical checkout will shake up where quarterbacks are. If he's not cleared and he's not ready to go, I think then we're going to see some guys that will then bolt him and take that place. You'll start seeing a shuffle at the top of the draft boards for quarterbacks. And some guys maybe some unfairly moved up, like a Mitch Trubisky. Some of those guys, because teams that are chasing quarterbacks are going to misevaluate that position because they need to find one. And so you just got to hope then that's not your team. Hopefully, if it's, whatever fan base you follow, hopefully that's not your guy.
Well, I'm not a fan of drafting Tua at number 5 overall because I think he's going to break down in the NFL. They hit harder. They play more games. He's not really the most athletic guy out there, and I don't know if he'll lose a little bit more of his, athleticism because of that hip injury. So he scares me, but I understand the method behind the madness. So let's say Burrow and
it would be hard for me. It's right now it's hard for me to take Tua in the first round. That's just me from what I know, and just from whatever. I just think it's hard. I don't even have him in the first round, so they put him at 5. If you're drafted in top 10, you draft top 10 for Hall of Fame players. That's what you have to. Is when you go into a draft board, if you're the GM of a team, if you're a top 10 player, you are drafting a guy you think is going to be a future Pro Bowl player, Hall of Fame player,
I agree.
All Pro player. You can't take a risk on a guy that you think is a maybe. You have to hit a home run.
I'm with you. So I've said this, since I'm not a fan of it, but I get it. It's a desperate league. That's why you take Tannehill at 8 and Gabbard at 3 or 4, whatever it was, and Baker moves all the way to number 1. There are so many examples of reaches in the NFL here, so I get all of that. Okay, so you got 14 picks. You want to take them at 5. I need you to go Jimmy Johnson on me and go get Steve Walsh. I need you to go Shanahan on me and go get Kirk Cousins. Do you agree at least that you and I disagree taking Tua that early? But if you're going to do that, then go get a Nate Stanley. Go get a Jordan Love. Go get
I'm okay with
Gordon.
that.
Go get some other project guy in that second or third rounds or something, at least.
Right, and then you might fall into a Dak Prescott, right? I mean, maybe you get lucky, but I mean, listen, this is the same league that traded up for Paxton Lynch, right? This is the same league that had Brock Osweiler as the next guy, right? I mean,
right.
so you're 100% right with chasing, especially at the quarterback position. This league is notorious for chasing, and because you feel like you have to have the guy, and so 9 out of 10 times you're not hitting it, and so. If you're gonna, here's your 2 scenarios. If you're the Dolphins, in my mind, I think your scenario is correct, or you package those 14 picks and you go give up next to 2021 first rounder and this first round in the 5 and maybe a second this year, and you go give them a 6th and a 7th or whatever that is. I put it together because of what the Eagles had to move up to get Carson Wentz at 2. But you're moving up 1, so you're gonna give up a little bit more of a premium. But you do that, you use those picks and you go up and get Joe Burrow. That's how you do it. So either you get a guy you think is a can't miss, which I think a lot of people, NFL scouts I've talked to and NFL coaches I've talked to, believe that Joe Burrow is that guy, son of a coach, can't miss product. You go trade up and get him, or you do it. You take the best player at 5, and then you use maybe a second or third on a quarterback, and then you bring back Rosen, you bring back Fitz, and say it's there. Or if that doesn't happen, or if there's a quarterback in this free agency, there's some really good quarterbacks, or maybe you've already addressed it in free agency. I don't think they'll do that because of what they've done, what they're building for, with those picks that they want to build through the draft. So I don't think you're right. They'll go get a quarterback in free agency unless it fits. But it's just that's kind of my idea. If you feel like you're going to do it in the draft, you trade everything up to go get Burrow at 1.
All right, I like Burrow too, but I got to ask you this question: the whole 1-year wonder thing. Bridge, you've been at this a long time, my brother. Outside of Jason Pierre-Paul, there aren't a lot of 1-year wonders that actually.
I thought he was good enough.
Okay, did you tell me?
I thought he was good enough. I thought he was good enough that junior year. I don't think it was a 1-year wonder. I mean, granted, did he play? He was been in the system for 2 years, right? Yeah. And so you want to see a guy make a progression. I thought he was good his junior year at LSU. And I thought people were excited about this year at LSU with him coming back because of the growth he made. Really playing, but I mean, he'd been in 2 legit systems, right? I mean, he's been at Ohio State. It's not like he was sitting at, this wasn't like he was at Washburn, or it wasn't like he was sitting at a junior college and all of a sudden he blew up. And Cam Newton showed that what he did, from coming, from Florida and then going to JUCO and then coming back to Auburn, Burrow was getting taught by playing against, practicing against with future pros at Ohio State. He was just sitting behind another guy that got drafted in the first round, so he had to move to go get some playing time, and he did. And he took studs around him and elevated their play. I mean, he made guys at LSU household names that maybe with another quarterback wouldn't have been.
Right.
So again, I think he's phenomenal, and I think he'll be a great pro. I think he'll actually be a better pro than he was in college, because I think it's one of those situations where he doesn't have to worry about school, he doesn't have to worry about all the rest of this. He can go immerse himself. He's already been immersed as a high school kid. Having a college, I'm a big fan of coaches, of players that play well, that are college coaches' kids or coaches' kids, because I think they understand the lifestyle, right? They understand moving. They understand it's a nomad lifestyle, and you got to perform every day, or you're out of a job. And I think he's going to be a very successful quarterback in the NFL.
Bridge, outside of Tua, Burrow, and Herbert, which are obviously considered the top guys, who are the rest of those other guys that are probably considered more projects? Give me the two guys you like the most that are going to go. Maybe some of them might sneak into the late first, but second or third rounds. Which other ones do you like?
I would say Jordan Love. Like I said, I talked about Love from. I think he's one of those guys that I'm very intrigued with. I really am. Now, and the other one, and again, this is hard for me to say as an Iowa State guy, but Nate Stanley from Iowa. I just think that he's one of those guys. Nobody's really talking about him a lot. He is a project. He's got a big arm. Yes. Gets a little bit happy feet in the pocket sometimes. His decision-making maybe isn't the best. But again, this is the same quarterback that was, came up with the George Kittles, with the Noah Fants. This guy is tutelage underneath C.J. Beathard. And so in Iowa has always produced those kind of guys, right? Maybe they're not the star quarterbacks, but they're steady, and they're you can make them. There's enough talent there where you say, okay, he can handle the big. He can go into the big house at Michigan. He can go into Ohio State. He can go against Wisconsin and get some wins. He's one of those guys that I think is. Am I sitting there saying he's going to be a future NFL star? I don't know that. I can't sit and project it. But he has the traits and he has some tools that you say, okay, if we get him in the right spot with the right coaching, he's got a shot. And I think in those rounds, that's what you're looking for. And I think he's one of those guys.
I'm with you. I love Nate Stanley in the later rounds, probably third, fourth round guy. And again, you're probably going to miss on those guys, but he's worth it because he's got the tools. Let me tell you another kid that I really liked at the East-West Shrine game, Kevin Davidson out of Princeton. Dude, I had no idea, Bridge, that this guy had the arm that he had, and he's pretty accurate. The touch passes, I think he needs to work on a little bit, but I love the moxie. And I love the arm the kid plays with. Obviously, Princeton, he's got to be smart. He's got to hit the books there. Do you know anything about this kid?
I don't. I really don't. I mean, that's one of the guys I look forward to. That's what, I haven't really started since. I don't really get too hardcore. And we've had some of the guys on my NFL Brawl podcast. We've had, we've had Brugler on there, and we've had, Benjamin Albright. We've had some of the guys that this Trap Chapasso that do this kind of stuff, and we'll get more into the draft. I've been kind of really working on, as the season we're going, and we'll start doing some free agency stuff before we really hit the draft. I know I'm way behind on my first mock draft. Guys have them out in September now. But those are guys, those quarterbacks that I love looking at those guys. I do a lot of stuff with Dan Shonka, who does our lads, and
yes.
I'll help him scout some players, and so it's kind of fun for me because I'll start getting some of these names of guys because I love the sleepers, right? That was my whole deal when I was a scout and when I was an agent. I was the agent for Jacoby Jones. I was the agent for, Damon Harrison. I was the agent for guys at these small schools that nobody knew about that all of a sudden now become some of the best players in the NFL. I like that. Johnny Knoxes of the world. And so it's, that's how you can make your hay as an agent, by finding those guys, and then, they make it and they get second contracts. And so I like finding those sleeper type guys. There's not as many nowadays just because of the way the internet is, and everybody in their basement's a mock draft guy and a draft expert. But you're right. Being able to take maybe the history I have of being able to find talent and say, okay, I'm going to apply it to this guy from Princeton. I'm going to apply it from this guy from, North Dakota, or from, that the kid I liked at the Senior Bowl, that big offensive lineman, Barach from St. John's Division III school, up in Minnesota. I love those kind of guys. And, you don't find any of those guys anymore. But, I think going back to your quarterback, the quarterback from Colorado, Mortez, I think is Steven Mortez. I think he has some.
Yeah, but the accuracy.
Yep, agree.
The accuracy scares me, dude. Oh, there are moments.
Agree, and that's where I agree with you. And I'm not sitting saying, hey, this is a guy that you take. You know, he's not a first rounder, second rounder. But those are guys you take in the 6 and 7 and say, okay, we're going to put him on our practice squad. We're going to put him on. You know, we're going to hide him, or we're going to take him on a chance because arm strength and his mobility. There's things he has that you look for that you say, okay, if we can fix this one thing, could he be an effective quarterback? And I think there's guys that are first rounders that have accuracy issues that guys have taken because they have a big cannon, they have size or whatever, pocket presence, and you say, okay, we got to work on this one thing. If you can get him with the right coach and with the right drills and coaches love those guys, right? Because those are the guys they make hay with, right? If you take a guy that has a little bit of issues with one of those things and you turn him into a ball player, that's how you become a head coach. Yeah, right. And so I think a guy like that, am I sitting there saying he's going to save a franchise? I don't know. He might be a bust. But I see there's enough talent there where I say, okay, I'm intrigued by him. Let's see what we can do.
Yeah, but if I take a guy like that in the 6th round, I'm not thinking bust, because if you miss, that's not a bust.
Right. Okay, fair enough.
A bust is the first, second round that you really –
Sure, right.
I'm with you, dude. When you take the guy in the 5th or 6th or 7th rounds, that's a project that you're almost counting on losing in that project, but there's talent there, so you try to then refine that talent. I'm with you all the way on that. That's where I would take Steven Montez, is late in the draft, because he's got a ginormous. You know, he reminds me a lot of the Indiana kid that I saw like 3 years ago at the East-West Shrine game that had a cannon, but he had no idea where it was going, and he got drafted. I think he's still in the league. I think he's backing up somewhere. I forgot the kid's name from Indiana. You know what I'm talking about, the big kid. He's like 6'3", 6'4". He's got a cannon, dude. He came out like 4 years ago, but I think he's still in the league actually somewhere. So, yeah, I'm with you on that one. I definitely – I don't mind taking those late project guys. I think Kevin Davidson from Princeton, I'm intrigued that when you do get into your draft stuff, look him up and tell me what you think of Kevin Davidson, because – I really liked him at the East-West Shrine. It was him and the FIU kid, James Morgan. He's got a good arm. Doesn't have the arm this kid has, but he has accuracy and he has touch. That's one of the things that I liked about James Morgan out of FIU. That was the other kid that I would say would be the number 2 guy out of the East-West Shrine game. All right, so Bridge, let's talk a little Super Bowl, my brother. We got the big game on Sunday. I'm going KC.
We do? We do? When I'm still in college, we're not talking draft stuff? Who cares about the Super Bowl? Let's talk draft stuff. There you go.
Dude, if it's draft,
I mean, it's not the Dolphins. It's not Dolphins. Nobody in your demographic gives a crap right now about the Chiefs or the 49ers. So let's talk about the draft.
Well, the beauty of this show is it's worldwide, baby. So we got listeners.
Sorry, my bad. I forgot that Big O is worldwide. My bad. I forgot.
We got
all right, so let's go. Yes.
Worldwide.
Yep,
so
I got it.
I can't let you go without getting, because, dude, if it's draft, Mark, you and I can do 4 hours of draft, and we could.
Yes, we could.
We could just keep going draft, and I know people would love it. Actually, maybe we'll bring you on, and we'll do a hardcore draft segment in a couple of weeks. So when you're a little bit more fine tuned with the quarterbacks.
Yeah, let me get prepared. Let's go. Yep.
All right, so I'm in on KC already, bro. I like KC a lot in this matchup. What's your think in the Super Bowl?
I do too. Granted, of course, that's 3 hours away from where I live, and I work for the Chiefs, so I'm a little bit biased toward the Chiefs. But I will say, I did call the 49ers making the playoffs this year, and I did think they were my dark horse before the season started to represent the NFC if they could get by the Rams. I didn't think the Rams would fall off the way they did, but in the preseason, I said I thought the 49ers were my dark horse for the Super Bowl. If they could just get through what I thought would be a tough NFC West. They did. They dominated it, actually. And so I think I love what they've done with the run game, with the three-headed monster. I think they do enough with Jimmy G. I don't think Jimmy G is even close to where he's going to become as a top-notch quarterback, but I do think he made progression through the season. But that defense is badass. And they do all the right things. That front seven is phenomenal. Fred Warner is my favorite linebacker in the NFL. And so I think that's going to be a challenge for Mahomes and for that offense. They haven't. The one thing the Chiefs haven't been able to show me consistently this year is a run game, and so they need to get Damian Williams going, and their defense is going to have to stand up and be able to stop, a pretty solid run game by the 49ers. That offensive line's hitting on all cylinders. Getting Joe Staley back was huge for the 49ers. I think they're going to have to hit on all cylinders. If they do that, if the 49ers run the ball the way they did against Green Bay, the Chiefs, it's going to be a long day for Spagnuolo, that defensive coordinator, and for that Chiefs defense. And I think that's going to be that's where the matchup is. I really do. I think if the 49ers offense can control the line of scrimmage and make it a short game by running the ball, I think that's how they win the game, because I don't think the Chiefs defense can match up to that power game. If Mahomes, if they force Jimmy G to win the game and throw the ball, then this is the Chiefs game all the way.
Bridge, they did get the running game going last week. KC was impressive, not just the quarterback. They were actually running the ball last week against a pretty tough defense. That's why it turned the corner for me this on the KC pick, because they toughened up against Derrick Henry and limited him to 60-something yards, 7 yards in the second half, and forced Ryan to beat them. And then on the flip side, they actually punished Tennessee a little bit with the running game. So I was impressed that KC, one defended and one actually were successful running the ball.
I'm okay with that. You're right. I agree with that. But they don't have. But again, I don't think, and you know this firsthand better than I do.
It's not a dominant one. I know what you're saying.
Okay, but I'm saying I'm taking Jimmy Garoppolo over Ryan Tannehill. Okay, that's just me. Right now, they don't have the running back that the 49ers don't have the running back that Derrick Henry is. But when you go into the game and you literally say all we have to do is stop the run, and you're able to do that and be able to talk the talk and walk the walk, they did a great job. The game plan, they were very successful in doing that. And and at that point, Derrick Henry's got a ton of carries on his body. He's got his butt handed to him. I think the weather played a little bit of a factor into that game too. I'm saying that it's not. I don't expect that same Kansas City defense to show up, because they can't just gear up and say, all right, we're going to stop. We're going to stop this. We're going to stop Mostert. We're going to stop. The running game of the Chiefs. They got to be able to stop George Kittle. They got to be able to stop Emmanuel Sanders. They got to be able to stop Deebo Samuel. So I don't think you can do the same type of stuff that they did last week. And you're right. I think they improved and they showed that. But I think this is a Chiefs game to lose. But I don't think it's just going to be the blowout that everybody is. I think a lot of people are expecting the Chiefs just to run away from this because of Patrick Mahomes. I don't think that's the case. I think it's going to be a lot closer than it is, and it really won't. If it's a low-scoring game, I think the 49ers win it. It's got to be a high-scoring game for the Chiefs to win.
I'm with you. I think it'll be close, but I like Kansas City in this one overall because of Mahomes. I think he's going to be the ultimate difference maker.
He's special, man.
Always. Yeah, that dude.
He is special. There's no question. We've been fortunate that in this time that we've been watching the NFL, we've seen some great quarterback play, man. This year especially, from Russell Wilson, from Lamar Jackson to Mahomes. I mean, this is just. It seems like every time I turn on the TV, there's something. One of these quarterbacks is doing something new, and I'm like, I didn't know you could do that. I didn't know you could do that. That doesn't seem like that's right. You could do that with a football. And every week it's just like I can't wait to see what Pat Mahomes does. He's made me a football fan. I know that.
Oh, no doubt. Follow him, of course, Mark. Mark, you're not on Twitter anymore, are you?
Yeah, I am. Bridges Football.
Oh, Bridge. Okay, there you go. So follow him on Twitter, and of course, Marc Lillibridge, former NFL player, scout, agent, coach. He's done it all, contract negotiator, and kind enough, as always, a friend to join us here on the program. Bridge, you are the best, my man. Thank you for taking some time. Look forward to doing it again.
Hey, do me a favor and try to get some sleep this week. I know you got a lot of Super Bowl parties to go to. I know you got a lot of hobnobbing to do. I know you're going to rub elbows with the stars, even though you are the biggest star. So I know the stars actually, I take that back. I know all the stars are flying into Miami to rub elbows with you. Take it easy on them. You do me a favor, take it easy on them.
You got it, my brother. We definitely will. We'll take it easy, and we'll just serve him a drink.
That's it. Get it up, man.
All right, baby. You be good. There you go. There you go. The great Marc Lillibridge, man. We love him. All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to switch gears. We're going to talk a little Giants, a little Eli Manning. Patricia Traina covers the Giants. She's been covering it for a long time for Sports Illustrated and Giants Country. She joins us next. Is the mic on there? There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got some tragic news to report former NBA superstar Kobe Bryant has died in a helicopter crash in California. 5 people were on board the helicopter when it went down near Calabasas. Bryant's wife, Vanessa, was reportedly not on the helicopter with Kobe and the rest of the people that were in the helicopter. Wow, this is shattering news to hear about Kobe Bryant passing away in a helicopter crash. Man, this is wow. I mean, you don't wish anybody passing away in a helicopter crash, but obviously an icon to Laker fans and the NBA and a sports legend. And I would imagine that even a guy like LeBron, who built up a big relationship with Kobe over the years, and Kobe was accepting of him coming over to the Lakers, and to hear this news about Kobe Bryant passing away in a helicopter crash, this is as disturbing as it gets. Wow, this is not the way I wanted to close out a show. And we're waiting for Patricia Traina is going to join us in a couple minutes. I kind of feel awkward even doing the interview now, talking about this with Kobe Bryant. So we're going. Are we all right, Bill? All right. So we're gonna get Patricia on in a minute here, and we'll get into a little Giants conversation. I kind of feel awkward almost getting into this conversation with this breaking news of Kobe Bryant dying in a helicopter crash. This is just weird, man. I got to tell you. All right, do we have Patricia? Patricia, are you there?
I'm here.
Hello, Patricia. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm stunned about this Kobe Bryant news, though.
Yeah, I'm just, we're about to do this, and this thing comes across the wire and hits you like a sack of potatoes. And obviously a guy that, in our world, this is one of the giants of the sports world. And to hear the news is just absolutely crushing. You got to feel for his family, obviously, and the Laker Nation right now. They've got to be hurting in a big time way, man. Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, way too young to go.
Crazy if you think about it. LeBron just passed him for number 3 the other night.
Yes.
It's weird. It's really weird.
Yeah. It's sad. Patricia, we'll try to get through this. Kind of awkward to go from this to what we were about to talk about. Obviously, and you've been on the Giants beat for a long time, giantscountry.com. You can check her out. And, of course, Patricia, you can follow her like I do on Twitter and so many others do at Patricia_Traina. Patricia, the Eli Manning retirement, it was short, it was sweet, and it was all Eli, right? I mean, he didn't disappoint. He gave you who he was even on the way out.
Yeah, he was true to himself right to the end. He spoke about, from day one, doing it his way, doing it in a way he was comfortable. He acknowledged that, maybe his way was boring. It wasn't maybe what the fans and even the front office might have wanted, but he represented himself, his family, the organization with nothing but class. And you just think about it, in 16 years, he very rarely created any kind of controversy. I think you can count the number of times he might have, had controversy on one hand. And a tremendous career, and congratulations to him on doing it his way and going out on his terms.
I thought it was awesome, and to me, I got to say, for me, Patricia, I think he's a no-brainer Hall of Famer. You don't have to put him in the first ballot. I don't need that part of it, but to me, I just find it kind of awkward and wrong in this discussion, and I just think some people aren't giving him the credit that he deserves. And everything that, I was talking with on this show a couple of days ago, we were talking about this subject, and I said, you realize, and I read his numbers last year, he threw for 4,300 yards and 66% completion percentage on a team that couldn't block and had no wide receivers. And I know he isn't the most mobile guy, but it's almost like he doesn't really get the respect he deserves sometimes.
No, you know what? There's an old saying that the quarterback gets too much credit when a team wins and too much blame when they lose. And I think that saying is very applicable here. People will look at the last several years when the Giants just weren't very good, and they will say the common denominator is Eli Manning. Well, I would say to that, look at the personnel around him. How many times did he have a defense, for example, that was not ranked at or near the bottom of every major statistical category? How many times did he have receivers drop passes? I think there were a couple of years when he was like, if not the leader, amongst the top 5 quarterbacks who had receivers dropping passes. So there were other, elements to why the Giants weren't as good as they could have been. Not all necessarily related to Eli, but you have people who look at it and say, look, he's the common denominator, and so he must be the reason why they're not doing well.
And it's just, to me, it's just one of those things. And for him to walk out, do you think he walks out happy, Patricia, or satisfied? I know these endings rarely are ever John Elway-like, but I just wonder how he is walking away from the game. Is he at least satisfied? I'm sure he's satisfied with his career, but what about the exit?
I think he's at peace with everything. At the end of the season, the day after the season ended, he spoke to the media, and he opined that he could still play. He felt he could still play. He wasn't sure at the time what he was going to do, but, he did mention retirement was certainly an option. Having had an opportunity to think about it, talk it over with his family, he decided, look, I'm not going to uproot my family. I have, 4 young children. They're in school. They've got friends. I'm not going to uproot them for a year or two to go play elsewhere. And I just think, even though his mind and his heart was still, in the game and that he could still do it, he just decided this is just going to be best for everyone. He didn't want to be a backup. He just decided, okay, you know what? How often do you get to go out on your own terms? How often do you get to say that you stayed with the same team for as many years as he did, the 16 years? So I do believe, while there's some sadness, I think he's at peace with the decision.
That's at least that's cool that at least he's at peace with the decision. I got to tell you something. I got to commend the Mara family because they tried to make it a proper ending by giving him the start in the season, and they were hoping that he would have that great season to kind of close that thing out. And then to talk about, how they're going to retire the put him in the Ring of Honor and no one will ever wear that number. I got to give the Mara family a ton of credit because from the get-go, they tried to make this the proper ending for him.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Eli Manning has been everything that you could hope for in terms of how he represented the organization. Again, if you look back over his history, he never got in trouble. He never really landed on page 6. He never drew controversy or unwanted attention to himself or the organization, other than maybe you can make the argument for the memorabilia scandal, but even that was kind of handled kind of as quickly as possible. But Eli Manning was everything they could have asked for in an employee. Just, and let's not forget, he was very, very active in the community. He gave so much of his time and his money to various causes that were near and dear to his heart. And he did so not with fanfare. He didn't seek fanfare or the limelight. He did so, kind of under the cloak of being anonymous and whatnot. So just, you can't say enough good things about him. And, I look back at the end of his career and how a lot of people started to dump on him. It just, to me, was not fair. I don't think he was, solely to blame for the problems the Giants had. And I think, people maybe were a little too harsh on him. And I think those same people, in a year or 2 or 3, they're going to realize just how much he meant to this team. And, like I said, when Phil Simms retired, they're going to miss him.
Yeah. No, and let me tell you, Patricia, that scene of him at the bar with Daniel, I thought that was one of the classiest things anybody could ever do in his position to help that excuse me, to help that young man make his transition. I thought that part there, because he clearly he gets it, because he knows the position Daniel's in, and he didn't have anybody to pass the torch on to him that way. I thought that was one of the ultimate classy moves, watching him at the bar, even making it rain and everything. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, look, Eli did not like being a backup. I can tell you that for sure, that he did not like being it. He was bored. He just did not find any joy in that. But with that said, because he was such a tremendous example and a good teammate, he took his role and he said, okay, you know what? I'm going to just make the best of it. I'm going to do what I can, because this isn't about me. This is about the New York Football Giants. And the New York Football Giants have been good to me and my family, so I'm going to reciprocate and be good to them by helping them however I can. And, just how many guys would do that? You look back at some of the recent cases where, you had a veteran quarterback, and then along comes a young quarterback, and the veteran maybe doesn't want to do a whole lot to help the young quarterback get acclimated. Eli wasn't like that. He never withheld information. He wasn't, standoffish when Daniel had questions. He said he wasn't his coach, which is true, but when Daniel had questions and he needed a player's perspective, there was Eli to give it, and he did so honestly and willingly.
Yeah, no doubt. Patricia, so what's next for the Giants coming up here in the draft? Well, what direction do you think they're going to go in?
There could be any number of directions, but if I'm the Giants, if ever there was a year to trade down in the draft, this would be it. If I could work it out, to get some additional draft assets. Even if you pick up that third round pick that you have to give up to the Jets for Leonard Williams, but I would try and trade down. I would try and come away with a pass rusher, and I would try and come away with an offensive tackle as my first two picks in this draft. I think those are the two areas they really, really need to try and shore up.
Yeah, no. Hey, listen, Patricia, you got to go opposite of the Colts. The Colts draft Andrew Luck and never protect him, never get a running game, and the man gets killed and pummeled to a point that he has to quit football. You got Daniel Jones or whatever young quarterback out there, for Christ's sake, build the wall of Montezuma in front of him. Give him a chance to succeed. You know what I'm saying? You got to do that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's really, no excuse. They have their running game now in Saquon Barkley. Mm-hmm. They have the quarterback, as you mentioned, Daniel Jones. It's time to start building around those guys, especially on offense. Now, I do think they're going to retain Nate Solder at left tackle, because right now it would be a little too expensive to cut him. But I think you get his replacement on board and you develop him. And then on the other side, and I've made this point, before, the Giants have never, it's been a while. I think the last time they had two pass rushers that basically forced blockers to pick their poison was in 2016 when they had Jason Pierre-Paul and Olivier Vernon. Guess what? They went to the playoffs that season. Since then, they haven't really had that. They've only had maybe one pass rusher. And when you have one pass rusher and the other team can devote, multiple assets to stop them, and the other guys aren't making plays, you've just made the other side's job that much easier. So I really think pass rusher has to be up there, if not the number one, need, certainly 1A.
Wow. And that's amazing, Patricia, that they've got to keep the guy on solely because of that signing bonus they gave him, and the cap hit would be just absolutely brutal. But I was interested to see what you were going to say about Nate Solder, and that's got to be an awkward situation to keep a guy around that you're dying to replace already, because you know it was a mistake last year.
Well, I mean, I don't know that it was a mistake per se. I think they had no choice, given how Eric Flowers didn't work out. I think they had no choice but to go out and dedicate premium dollars to the position. Now, it's very rare that you give a free agent contract to someone and that person lives up to that contract and earns every penny of it. I also think that last year Nate Solder played hurt. He was on the injury report a couple of times. I truly believe, just in watching him play, that his ankle was not right, the one that he had surgically cleaned out before his training camp. So I think that was an issue. And then you also factor in that his young son is on his third round of chemotherapy for cancer, and you've got to wonder if that wasn't weighing on his mind. And I know that sounds like I'm trying to make an excuse, but listen, the man is human, and the fact that he went out there basically because the Giants didn't have anybody else to go out there. So I don't know that they had a choice but to have him go out there. It's not like they had a viable backup to where they could have said, "Hey, Nate, go take care of your son and don't worry about football." So and it was a mutual thing. It was. I'm sure if Nate decided, I'd want to step away, the Giants wouldn't give him a hard time. But Nate Solder, he takes a lot of flack too, and he's not the same player he was several years ago with the Patriots. Little different system, obviously different quarterback and whatnot, but I don't think he is the piece of garbage that some people like to make him out to be.
Okay. All right. Patricia Traina, by the way, does an excellent job of covering the Giants, giantscountry.com. You can follow her on Twitter, Patricia_Traina. And, of course, the Locked On podcast with the record number downloads. Congratulations. Tell them about the podcast.
Thank you. Oh, well, the Locked On Giants podcast, which is available on iTunes, Stitcher, wherever you can find podcasts. It's a free podcast, and we do it daily, and Monday through Friday, I should say. And I'm trying to get guests on. We do a mailbag. We do. I've got some new features I'm going to unveil, including what I call them a grab bag, where I'm not going to tell you what these segments are, but in each of the three segments, it's going to be something that I think everybody will like, whether it be an audio clip, whether it be a special guest that's unannounced or whatever. So, just I can't thank the listeners enough for the record-setting downloads. I mean, I looked at the stats the other day and I was like, oh my gosh, this has to be a mistake because I have never topped that high. And to reach that figure, I can't thank the folks enough. And I hope everybody will check it out. And you can listen to it. You can also contribute by asking questions for the mailbag. You can tweet them to me. Make sure you tag them as PTrain, or if you want to email them, I take emails at lockedongiantspodcast@gmail.com.
There you go. Patricia Traina does an excellent job. If you're a Giants fan, she's a must follow at Patricia_Traina. Patricia, you are awesome. Thank you for taking some time. Always look forward to doing it again.
Thank you so much, guys.
Be good. There you go. Patricia Traina, man. All right, good stuff there from giantscountry.com. This Kobe Bryant thing is just...
Dude, it is so eerie.
Wow.
That LeBron passed him.
Yeah, but that's...
the timing. It's just really... That's so bizarre, man.
Oh, man. Just to see that happen, and now, he's got his kids and his wife.
The rest of his life.
And
yeah.
He's so young, man. This is not a man that's even 40, right? I don't even think he's 40.
No. I'm willing to bet he's not.
Oh, man, you're not supposed to die that early.
And he was starting to get, start his own business, getting into producing and getting into, I guess, was it books and movies and, just starting a new
so much to offer, man.
New venture in life.
What a terrible story, man. And prayers to everybody else that was in that helicopter, because I think it was a total of 5 people that passed away in the helicopter. Man, that's just terrible.
The time here, remember I was talking about taking a helicopter ride in Vegas, just doing that night thing?
Yeah, you're not going to do it anymore?
Thank you very much. No, thank you.
Yeah.
Get me on a roller coaster, go upside down, blah, blah, blah. That's good.
Yeah.
I'll take my chances with that. No.
Yeah. I just, wow. What a story, man. That's just not the way, I was this was a great Sunday. I was feeling really good. Everything was flowing. And listen, we've been grinding for 7 straight days. It's 14, actually.
I was going to say, man, don't forget about the East West Shrine.
And traveling and all this stuff. And, I was feeling good today. We did a good 4 hours today here.
Yep.
we had good talk, and then this hits you like, I mean, wow, man. It's crazy to think about this, that this man has passed away at this tender age. He's 41, actually. Okay.
Okay. He retired 2 years ago. That's
40.
he retired at I think 39.
No, it wasn't 2, was it? It was more than that already, dude.
Is it more than 2?
Yeah. It's been more than 2. It's been at least 4 or 5.
I remember my thinking. I remember the thing was,
so we don't even get to induct him into the Hall of Fame.
Ooh.
Wow, man.
You know what? He
doesn't even get to go in.
He should be. You know how you got to wait so many years. This should be one of those that no, you're in.
Yeah,
right now.
On the next one, on the next go round, they should just put him in.
Honestly, they should come out next week and say, hey, you know what? Honorary.
It's not their fault
done.
or anything. It's not like one of those things that we waited 800 years and it was overdue. I don't think the 5 years have been up because I think it's around 4 to 5, right? I think since he retired, I want to say.
I feel like it's been that long. I would say maybe this is 2 years. We're going into the 3rd this year.
Let's see.
Is what I would guess.
I'll tell you right now where he. Let me see here. Where are the stats? Professional career. 99 here, 2002. The whole thing. Come on.
You're on NBA reference.
Yeah, I'm on. Oh, and actually, I went to his Wikipedia. I should have gone. You know what? That was stupid of me. I should have gone NBA reference. Would have happened right away. Final season was 16. 15, 16. So 16, 17, 17, 18, 18, 19. This is going to be a 4th. So
you were right. 3 years past.
Yeah,
this will be 4th.
Yeah, this is 4th.
It just doesn't.
So we were a year removed from when we were going to put him on the ballot, which he would have been a first ballot, obviously, and he would have gone in. You know what? Yeah, I'm with you. Maybe next year they should just induct him.
I don't even think
put him in.
You know what, man? You shouldn't wait to do it right. You just come on and say, hey, you know what?
It's not like there's any decision to be made here.
No.
It's not like, well, should he be in? Should he not be in? Is there any? There's no discussion about Kobe Bryant.
Didn't baseball do that for Roy Halladay when he had his voting situation or plane or whatever?
You know what? I don't even know.
I think it was Roy Halladay that they didn't even wait for like the time when voting's going on. It was, hey, you know what? The next time, he's part of the group.
I had no idea about that with Doc
It's
Halladay.
the right way to do it, right? You just
I have no problem with it. I think most people would not have a. Obviously, there's going to be an idiot somewhere because there was an idiot that didn't vote for Jeter, right? So there's always an idiot somewhere that would complain. But I think most people would be, come on, man, let's go.
Yeah,
because it's a no-brainer guy.
It would.
Those kind of guys, you can induct them the second they retire. It's like no-brainer guys.
But what it is the honor. Giving him the honor right now to give some solace, give something in a positive light with this, as hard and horrible as it is.
Big O, what happened to boxing? It's because we lack iconic American boxers, or is sweet science getting sour? No, Crawford. We have good ones. We just don't have heavyweights.
No, we do. What's Wild and
but again, that's just now that just happened.
But that first fight was a great fight.
Yeah.
We've talked about it. We are planning on going and seeing the second one.
Yeah, definitely.
The first one, I think it's going to be awesome.
It should be, but he's right overall. In heavyweights, it hasn't been. It's been terrible for decades now.
We've waited at least 15 years.
Yeah. Facts is really all of the above. No good heavyweights, corruption, and the emergence of MMA for people. Before heavyweights were dead way before the MMA became popular. Way before. Okay? So the MMA stuff does not fly because we haven't had heavyweights since the 90s. Okay? We're in 2020. All right? This century.
The last good was
There's been this century we haven't had.
Was Bo Holyfield, right?
Yeah.
That
we have to go to the 90s.
Yeah.
We have to go to and it's like early 90s, like at the end of that. And that's really what it is. It just hasn't been, even when the English guy was in charge, Heavyweight sucked in those days. Lennox Lewis. Heavyweight sucked in those days. It was a terrible division at that time. So, yeah. All right, we got to wrap it up here on the show, of course. We thank Steve Ostrov and all the amazing people here at Toyota of Hollywood. I feel bad because Herbie is a huge Lakers fan, and I just crushed him when I told him about Kobe. Can't believe it, man.
Look, I'm not a Laker fan by no means, but Kobe was amazing, man. One of those high school kids, right out of high school,
Big time.
To actually be and do what you were set from day one to supposedly doing to come through the way he did.
Yep.
Amazing, man.
Yep, no doubt. We thank Taylor Zarzer. We thank Will Carroll, Bob Fesco, Patricia Traina, Marc Lillibridge. We had just an excellent guest list today. Lots of insights. We thank Bill, as always, and John Cassio, two producers getting it done every single day. We survive is what we try to do, and we thank all of our amazing sponsors. Make sure you support our amazing sponsors so we can keep it rocking. You know what I'm saying?
Monday will be Monday. Just Monday.
Yes. I don't know. Are we? I don't know if we're at VSS West Pines either tomorrow or Tuesday, but I know we're there in the next couple of days to wrap it up. It'll be our first broadcast out at VSS West Pines. Looking forward to it. We'll have all kinds of water pipes behind us. All right, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Same time, same place, same bat channel. Thank you for the incredible support.
Enjoy what's rest of the weekend, guys.